Hello, welcome to Acharya Nidana Academy. In this particular video, we are going to discuss the application of Kriyakala. What actually Kriyakala means? The term Kriyakala, Kriya means the treatment, Kala means the timing. In other words, giving the right treatment at appropriate time based on the pathological events happening in the body that can be termed as Kriyakala. When you think about Kriyakala, it is being mentioned in Sushruta Samhita, Sanchayam cha prakopam cha prasaram sthana samshayam, vyaktin bhedam cha yo vitti sadoshanam bhaved bhishak. If a person is knowing the 6 stages of Kriyakala, that is Sanchaya, Prakopa, Prasara, Sthana Samshaya, Vyakta, and Bheda. If he knows, then giving the treatment will not be a difficult thing. It will be very, very easy. So when you think about there are certain things that one has to know before knowing the concepts of Kriyakala. That is Stirling forces, concept of sludging of blood or sludged blood, composition of the human body, then Rogamarga, and basic understanding of Kriyakala. So in this particular video, we are going to discuss all these concepts in brief so that we can have an application of the Kriyakala in a better way. So when you think about Stirling forces, these are the forces happening across the capillary membrane, which is being exerted either by the water and electrolytes. The pressure exerted by water is being termed as hydrostatic pressure, and the pressure exerted by the proteins and electrolytes, that is being termed as oncotic pressure. When you think about the hydrostatic pressure happening across the capillary membrane, so that is responsible for the pushing effect. So that means if the hydrostatic pressure present at the capillary, so that will be responsible for the movement of the fluid from the capillary to interstitial space. Whereas the oncotic pressure that is being exerted by the proteins and electrolytes, that is responsible for the pulling effect. So that means the oncotic pressure is responsible for the movement of the fluid to happen from interstitial space to capillary. Or in other words, so that is having an exact opposite pressure as that of a hydrostatic pressure. So in the same way, interstitial space is also having the hydrostatic pressure and oncotic pressure, which is again responsible for pull and push effect respectively. When the blood pressure at the heart is around 120 by 80 millimeter of mercury, at that time, the hydrostatic pressure at the arterial end of the capillary will be 32 millimeter of mercury. Whereas the hydrostatic pressure at the venous end, it will be around 12 millimeter of mercury. Whereas the oncotic pressure at the capillary, throughout the capillary will be 25 millimeter of mercury. Whereas the interstitial space, the hydrostatic pressure will be 4 millimeter of mercury. And oncotic pressure, it will be around 8 millimeter of mercury. This is about the overall Stirling forces. When the fluid is moving across the capillary, so that will be having a summating effect. Thereby, the fluid will be moving from capillary to interstitial space at the arterial end, and the fluid will be moving from interstitial space to capillary at the venous end. So this actually is responsible for the movement to happen at the venous end slowly. This is what we can say sludging of blood. When any kind of the pathogen is being present at the interstitial space, what actually happens is that will be attracting the, what do you say, that the WBCs, etc., by the substances produced by these pathogens. That is responsible for the increased movement to happen of the fluid from the capillary to interstitial space. At that time, what actually happens at the venous end will be even much slower movement of the blood will be happening at the venous end. This is what we can say sludging of blood or sludged blood. If the pathogens are so virulent, then the WBCs or other substances, which we can say the inflammatory markers, that will be entering from the capillary to interstitial space from the adjacent capillaries. Further, if the pathogen is even virulent, then it may come from the third capillary. Then it may enter through the even the adjacent capillary from the fourth capillary also. In that way, the whole tissue, if you consider this as the tissue, and these are the capillaries, 4 capillaries are being mentioned here. In that particular situation, the sludging of blood will be happening in these 4 capillaries even much more severe manner. This is what actually the initiating factor for avarana to happen in the one particular tissue level, organ system level. When you think about the composition of the body, nearly around 2/3 of the body, that is nearly around 66% of the human body is consisting of a water portion. And rest of them are consisting of solid portion. When you think about 3/4 of the solid portions, nearly around 25 to 26% is considered to be proteins. So that means all the enzymes, all the hormones, all the inflammatory markers, etc., are nothing but proteins. Whereas other aspects, they may be considered to be either minerals or carbohydrates, etc. They are coming under the rest category. So that means the human body is mainly consisting of water and proteins. This is what we can say the pie chart of the human body. Water portion, this is what we can say, this is the water portion, nearly 2/3, and this can be considered as protein portion. Again, 1/3, 3/4 of 1/3, that is proteins, and the rest of them, that is nearly around 8 to 9%, that is considered to be the other portions such as minerals, vitamins, carbohydrate, etc. So next, coming about the concept of Rogamarga. So this is what we can say can be considered or learned in terms of compartments. That is the alimentary canal, which can be considered as the Abhyantara Rogamarga, and which is the adjacent to the alimentary canal, that is what we can say the intracellular compartment. Adjacent to intracellular compartment, there will be interstitial compartment. Adjacent to interstitial compartment, there will be intracellular compartment. As we have mentioned earlier, alimentary canal is considered to be the Bahya Rogamarga, and the intracellular compartment, interstitial compartment, and intracellular compartment that is considered to be by outside the bones, joints, and marma. They are considered to be Rogamarga, and intracellular compartment, interstitial compartment, and intravascular compartment inside the bones, joints, and marma. They are considered to be Madhyama Rogamarga. Further, when you think about these compartments, first and foremost, we need to know about gut transit time. Gut transit time refers to the movement of the substances that is going to take place in different parts of the alimentary canal. For example, in the mouth, the food may remain for a period of 1 to 2 or 3 minutes. And in the small intestine, the foods, they move within seconds into the stomach. And in the stomach, the food may remain for a period of almost 2 hours. In the small intestine, that may remain for a period of 6 hours. Whereas in the large intestine, that may remain for a period of 24 to 48 hours. This is what we can say, the gut transit time. This is very, very important as far as the dosha utpatti is concerned. And the macromolecular to micromolecular, what is this particular term means? Whenever a person is consuming the food, that will be in the macromolecular form. Macromolecular form in the sense they will be having the heavier molecular weight and larger in size that cannot be absorbable by the alimentary canal. They have to be converted into micromolecules by the enzymes, hormones, which are being secreted in the or mucus, which is being secreted in the alimentary canal. So these secretions, they are going to get secreted in the stomach, small intestine, large intestine. In the stomach, the macromolecules, they are going to get converted into intermediate molecules. And if the substances are such as glucose, then they are not going to get converted into the intermediate molecules as they are micromolecules itself. They are going to get absorbed from the stomach itself. If they are macromolecules, they are going to get converted into intermediate molecules in the stomach, so which will remain in the stomach for a period of 2 hours. From then, the chyme is formed. This chyme will be entering into the small intestine, wherein that will be converted into micromolecules. The presence of the food, which may be necessary for the transformation of macromolecules to micromolecules, it is almost 6 hours in the small intestine. Later, these substances which are being formed as the micromolecules, they are going to start absorption in the ileum part of small intestine. Later, that will be entering into the large intestine, wherein the most of the water portion and the minerals, etc., they are going to get absorbed from the large intestine. That's how the conversion of macromolecules will be happening into the micromolecules. Then these micromolecules are, which are the nutrients, which will be entering into the capillaries of stomach or small intestine, large intestine. In terms of the micromolecules, usually they will take the path of a portal circulation. That is, from the capillaries of the stomach, small intestine, large intestine, they enter into the portal system. Thereby, they will be entering into the liver, then into the inferior vena cava, and later into the heart, later into the systemic circulation. Whereas the fats which are going to get absorbed, they are usually larger molecular size. They enter via lymphatic system. From there, they will be entering into the superior vena cava at the junction of left interjugular vein and left subclavian vein. From there, it will be entering into the heart, and later that will be entering into the systemic circulation. From the systemic circulation, they will be entering into the aorta. From there, they will be entering into the arteries. Later, they will be entering into the capillaries. That is, from the capillaries of the stomach, small intestine, large intestine, till the capillaries of the cardiovascular system, they are being categorized under intravascular compartment. From the intravascular compartment, the fluid or the nutrients, they will be moving into the interstitial compartment. From there, they will be moving into the intracellular compartment. In the same way, the pathogens start moving from alimentary canal to intravascular compartment, from the intravascular compartment to interstitial compartment, from the interstitial compartment to intracellular compartment. In this way, so we are going to see the movement of the dosha or the pathogens from the Abhyantara Rogamarga to Bahya Rogamarga or Madhyama Rogamarga. Or otherwise to say, movement of the dosha takes place from Koshtha to Shakha or Marmasthi Sandhi. Or otherwise, we can say the movement of the, or to say that the attainment of Dhatupaka stage. That is what is we can say or learn about the pathogenesis from the Rogamarga point of view. Ayurveda says, Roga sarvepi mande agno. Most of the diseases are considered to be manifested in an individual due to mandagni or otherwise abnormal functioning of Agni, which can be considered to be because of abnormal functioning of Ahara Parinamkara Bhava. Ushma, Vayu, Kleda, Sneha, Kala, and Samayoga. If it is these 6 factors are abnormal, then the person may have abnormal functioning of Agni. Most common Nidana, they are going to get encountered in the human body, that is in terms of the abnormal functioning of Agni are Adhyashana, Vishamashana, Samashana, Atyashana, and Viruddhashana. Adhyashana refers to Bhuktasya Upari Bhojanam. When the person is going to consume the food, within a matter of 2 hours, he is going to take the food again, which is considered to be Adhyashana, wherein the part of the food that is present in the stomach itself. Vishamashana. The term Vishamashana refers to abnormal diet pattern in terms of quantity and timing. So, when you say about the quantity, so the irregular quantity, sometimes you will be going to take the food too large, sometimes you're going to take the food too little. In terms of timing, sometimes he is going to take the food too early, which will be acting just like Adhyashana. So, or otherwise, sometimes he may take the food too late. This is specifically seen in the people who are having the, what do you say, that the occupation of hoteliers. Samashana, so that means the consumption of Pathya Bhojana and Apathya Bhojana together. That is wholesome and unwholesome diet together. So that means he is going to take the fruits and vegetables. Immediately he is going to take the food, that is the Gobi Manchurian. What we can say, so that is Pathya and Apathya Bhojana together. Atyashana. When you say Atyashana, he is going to take the food too large at a particular time period. This is specifically seen in marriage functions. So, taking too much sweets or laddus in that way, so that he is not in a position to take the food further. So that means sometimes even the food may be coming up to the esophagus level. That much amount of the food, what we can say, Adhyashana. Whereas Viruddhashana means incompatible diet. So that means consumption of milk and fish together. What we can say, this is what we can say the Viruddhashana. So let us say the Adhyashana itself. When you say Adhyashana, what actually happens is the food will be entering directly into the stomach. Right. They are macromolecules. This actually displaces the already present food into the periphery. So like that, but that will be entering directly into the inferior end of the stomach itself. After a matter of 2 hours, this food will be entering first into the duodenum. This is what actually happens in cases of Adhyashana, wherein the already these intermediate molecules which are being present here, they will remain as intermediate molecules. Why? Because when the person is doing the Adhyashana, at that particular time period, the hydrochloric acid becomes weak. Later, this is responsible for the incomplete activation of pepsinogen into pepsin, which is very, very essential for the conversion of macromolecules into the intermediate molecules or micromolecules. When you think about the transverse section of the stomach, this is what we can say the newly ingested food. This will be moving directly down, whereas already present food that will be moving to the periphery. As they are macromolecules, intermediate molecules, they will be having the heavier molecular weight or moderate molecular weight. So that means they will be sticking onto the wall of the stomach and they move very, very slowly. What is its impact? When you say about the impact, most of us are consuming carbohydrate rich diet. When you say carbohydrate rich diet, so that is the one of the main source for the bacterial infection to proliferate. So when bacterial proliferation takes place, so that will be responsible for the gastric mucosal damage. Why bacterial proliferation takes place? This is because the food may remain in the stomach for more than 2 hours because he has taken the food frequently before emptying of this particular food into the duodenum. This is responsible for the production of inflammatory markers in the stomach. When these inflammatory markers are being produced in the stomach, they will be acting as the, what do you say, that the reasons for the increase of oncotic pressure to take place in the the stomach lumen. When this is happening, more fluid will be entering from the capillaries of the stomach into the stomach. Thereby, this is responsible for the increased volume of the stomach. Later, these, because of the gastric mucosal damage, the intermediate molecules or macromolecules are being present at the wall of the stomach. They are entering into the capillary of the stomach. As they are macromolecules, they will be entering via the lymphatic system into the bloodstream. They are bypassing the liver. So, in other words, when the person is doing Adhyashana, there will be Agni-mandya. Agni-mandya may be in the form of reduced hydrochloric acid. Agni-mandya can be considered to be incomplete conversion or activation of pepsinogen into pepsin. Agnimandia in terms of the reduced conversion of macromolecules into the intermediate molecules or micromolecules, which is responsible for the stasis of the macromolecules or intermediate molecules to the stomach wall. What we can say, the presence of AMA. This is responsible for the inflammatory markers that is going to get increased in the stomach wall. Inflammatory markers are nothing but the proteins. Thereby, this is responsible for the increased oncotic pressure to occur in the stomach wall or the lumen of the stomach. Thereby, that is responsible for the increased secretion of the fluid from the capillaries into the stomach. As the increased volume is happening, this is responsible for the swelling of the stomach. Because of the presence of what you say that the macromolecules which are being attached to the stomach wall, they are damaging the stomach wall and they will move directly into the capillaries of the stomach as macromolecules. Thus, they will be entering into the lymphatic system, thereby that will be entering into the Hridaya. That means Ama, that is transported from the Mahasrotas into the Rasa, thereby that will be entering into the Hridaya. This will be bypassing the hepatobiliary system or portal system. Take home messages from today's discussion. When you think about the in terms of Kriyakala, performing Adhyashana can be considered under Sanchaya stage of Kriyakala. Entry of fluid from the capillaries of the stomach into the alimentary canal, or from the capillaries of the small intestine into the alimentary canal, or from the capillary of the large intestine into the alimentary canal can be considered under Prakopa stage of Kriyakala. And entry of macromolecules which are being happening are intermediate molecules from the alimentary canal, that is stomach, small intestine, large intestine, into the capillaries of the stomach, small intestine, large intestine can be categorized under Prasara stage of Kriyakala. Thereby, that will be entering into the intravascular compartment, and depending upon the Nidana, for example, if a person is doing more and more amount of walking for more than 3 or 4 kilometers, then these macromolecules, they are going directly into the blood vessels of the lower limb. What we can say, that is the Sthana Sanchaya stage of Kriyakala. And thereby the person will be showing the symptoms related to lower limb. What we can say, the Vyakta stage of Kriyakala. Later, it can be, as the disease progression takes place, this can be categorized under Bheda stage of Kriyakala. Thus, we can know about the overall understanding of Kriyakala. Dear ANM members, this is a totally a new viewpoint as far as application of Kriyakala is concerned. What are the major key takeaways from this particular small discussion? Mention in the comment box below. And if you would like to know something new information. What is that particular one information that you'd like to know? Mention in the comment box below. And if you are liking this particular video, put a thumbs up and spread the message to the huge number of or the large number of the audience of your friends and the Ayurveda learners, so that we can make a huge movement out of this particular small message. That's all for today. Thank you.